This week I've decided to do something a little different with HBM's Crypto Corner. I'm doing a Q&A, and I've invited some people to ask me questions either on Facebook or at my email account, which is hbsquatchmay@yahoo.com. So we have a few questions to get started off, so let's go. Tim Mitchell asks, do you think the thylacine is the most likely cryptid animal alive? Well, he put cryptic, but well, either one's fine. Tim, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there have been sightings in recent years of what people claim are thylacines down in Australia. Now, for those who don't know what the thylacine is, that was a creature which looked like a dog, but it had stripes like a tiger. Matter of fact, it's called the Tasmanian tiger in some cases. So it's an interesting question. I don't know if it's still alive or not. If it is, then it's staying well hidden. Although there have been sightings in recent years, the last confirmed sightings of the thylacine were back in, I think, probably the 20s or 30s. I'm not really sure. But it's an interesting question to think about, that's for sure. Even Eric Tichnell asks a very good question. Why do you think Chupacabra started out as being described as a bipedal reptilian and then suddenly become described as a hairless quadruped canine type creature? That's a good question. I really don't know. A lot of people would probably say, well, it's because it's a strange, hairless creature. It maybe looks kind of like a chupacabra or something strange or unusual. So it's given the name chupacabra. Well, of course, what I believe those creatures are is mangy coyotes or mangy dogs. The original description of the chupacabra, you go back to the island of Puerto Rico. They do describe some kind of bipedal reptilian type creature with huge red eyes and spikes going down the back, and they're black, and they have these strange looking hands. I think they have like 3 fingers on each hand, and they have 3 toes and things like that. So I'm not really sure where the description of a hairless canine type creature came from. There is one lady who has some, I think, a head of a supposed chupacabra, which is most likely a, a, a possibly a hybrid. Some of these creatures may also be hybrids. They may not just be hairless coyotes or hairless mangy dogs. They may be hybrids, coy dogs or coy wolves or something like that. So I'm not really sure exactly where this perception came from that these things are chupacabra, but it's interesting. It's an interesting question to ask, that's for sure. Hugh Phillips asks, do you miss the days when Blog Talk Radio actually had fun and interesting Sasquatch-related shows? Yes and no, and I'll explain. I mean, yes, I miss those days because like there was a new show on just about every night. You had Sasquatch Experience, you had Detective, you had the Gray Area, you had was it Bob and Mike's show, the Bigfoot Quest, yes, the Bigfoot Quest. You had Beyond the Edge Radio, which would occasionally do Sasquatch segments. Um, you had all these different shows, and then all of a sudden they just kind of started falling by the wayside, or they moved to another network or something like that. Um, no, I don't miss it because now they require you to pay for it, and plus the sound quality really hasn't changed much from the old days. And they still have technical issues and technical glitches out the yin yang. So they really haven't improved very much on this stuff. Now, there is at least one show that I would highly recommend that is on Blog Talk Radio. It comes on Sunday nights at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. It's called Monster X Radio, hosted by Shane Corson and Gunnar Monson. And they usually have some pretty good guests and some pretty good content. So if I were to recommend a current Blog Talk Radio show, it would be that one. Also, Night Caller's Bigfoot radio is pretty good as well. Unfortunately, it comes on the same night as Into the Fray radio, so sometimes I have to miss uh, Night Callers because of Into the Fray radio. But anyway, I'm Into the Fray radio, but that's intothefrayradio.com. That's Shannon LeGros's show, and it's excellent. And the sound quality on it is just absolutely um, on par with professional radio shows. So that's a tremendous program in and of itself. And I would highly recommend seeking that program out. It's just intothefrayradio.com. Also, Night Callers. I'll put all the links in the description below for everybody. So, anyhow, I mean, so I hope that answers your question, Hugh, where that's regarded. His second question is, do you think the current Bigfoot craze has been good or bad for the field in general? Again, I have to say yes and no. And what I would say is yes, it's good because it raises awareness for the subject. You have shows like Finding Bigfoot and Monsters and Mysteries in America, and other programs that examine the mystery. Now, Monsters and Mysteries in America doesn't always do a Sasquatch show or doesn't always do a Sasquatch segment, but at the same time, they generally they will focus at least one or two stories on Sasquatch, maybe just one on each episode. The less said about mountain monsters and Alaska monsters, the better, because those are fake shows. Let's just be honest. I've seen at least one or two episodes of Mountain Monsters, and it was the biggest crock of you know what I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of mountain monsters or Alaska monsters because I mean, number one, they're taking pot shots at thing that's going to wind up getting somebody hurt or killed. Second of all, I mean, they're hoax, they're hoax shows, hoaxymentaries. There's nothing actually going on. They're not actually there's no Bigfoot there. There's no unusual creature there. It's them. It's special effects. It's sound effects and things like that. It's just a lot of hooey. It's BS, really, is what it is. So I would not recommend seeing either one of those shows. Um, Now, Finding Bigfoot has certainly raised great awareness for the subject, even if there are those who think that it's really nothing more than just a reality show, which, I mean, the argument could be made that it is a reality show, but by the same token, that's essentially what they are about. That is the key to what their show is about. So, um, they're never going to find Bigfoot. I agree. You're exactly correct. They'll never find it. Not with the tactics that they're using. But at the same by the same token, it raises awareness for the subject. Cliff and Bobo have devoted quite a bit of their lives to actually doing field research and things of that nature. So, as far as the Bigfoot craze, I mean, Bigfoot was really the last time it had a heyday like this was in the 70s. You know, back in the 70s, Bigfoot was big business. And it kind of dropped off for a little while, but in recent years, we've had the Messing with Sasquatch beef jerky ads. We've had the Monster Quest, which is a late lamented show, by the way. I wish that would come back, or I wish that Doug Hycheck would do an exclusive Sasquatch based content show. Make it better than Mysterious Encounters. uh, but you know, we have Monsters and Mysteries in America. We have Killing Bigfoot. Unfortunately, I mean that's you know, I mean somebody can wind up getting hurt or killed with that show too. I mean, all they're out to do is kill Sasquatch, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but you're very limited in you're very limited in how, because you have to bring one in. The premise is killing Bigfoot. You have to kill one, and then the show. Well, of course, if they did that, the show would be over. Then you had the $10 million Bigfoot bounty, which was a good idea and a good concept. Wasn't that bad of a show. You had Dean Cain as the host. But maybe it could have been done a little bit better. I think the standards for the show I think the standards for the show were lowered as a result of the contest aspect. Um, and I'm hoping there will at least be another Bigfoot centered show sometime in the future. But the Bigfoot craze. I mean, you can see this huge banner behind me. I'm wearing the T-shirt of the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. I mean, conferences are huge business, and there's TV shows, there's action figures, books, DVDs, posters, pictures, Sasquatch calls. I'm talking about an actual Bigfoot caller. Um, I mean, there's toys, there's all kinds of merchandise, and I mean that kind of merchandise, it sells. It really does sell. It sells a lot to the collectors. I mean, myself being a collector, it's something that I truly appreciate. But by the same token, you really don't want to make it look too foolish. Um, but anyway, it's a mixed blessing. We'll just put it that way. The Bigfoot craze, the current Bigfoot craze, it's a mixed blessing. There's good things and there's bad things. But that's the way it is with all aspects of life. It's not just Sasquatch. You got to take the good and the bad in various aspects of life. That's just the way it is. But anyway, I hope that answers your questions, Hugh, and I hope I answered everybody's questions on this Q&A. So if you have any more questions, just send them to my email address or to my Facebook page, and we'll do another Q&A probably in another couple. It'll be a couple of weeks before we do another one. So if you don't get your questions answered this time, you'll get them answered. You'll get them asked and answered next time. So thank you very much for tuning in, and until next week, y'all be good or be good at it. This has been a special HBM's Crypto Corner Q&A.